Welcome to the show. This is the 2022 Dickson County Election Podcast. My name is Justin Spurlock. I'll be the host of this show. If you may have heard of me before, I have a newspaper article that I write every Wednesday in the Dickson Post, and it has to do with local Dickson County history. And also every Saturday morning, I host a couple of radio shows down at WDKN. And the reason that we decided to do this particular podcast is because we wanted to give the candidates who are running for office this election cycle an opportunity to talk to the candidates. And so I've got the radio equipment here, so I decided to turn it on. We're live here from Redbird Realty Studio, and today I've got a candidate in here with me who is running for county commission, and that's Mr. Bryan Hill, better known as Pappy. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Well, thank you for coming in here to the studio with me and talking today. I truly do appreciate it. Usually on this show, we start off by just talking to the candidates a little bit about who they are, and I like to give you a chance to talk about your background, kind of where you grew up, maybe where you went to school, and kind of lead that into your professional life and your adult life. So if you want to start at the beginning and just kind of tell me what's your earliest memories, we can start there.
All right. Sounds good. So I've been here all my life, my parents as well. My father actually used to be a teacher for Dickson County Schools for several years. My mother, she worked for First Federal Bank, and she started out as a teller and ended up at the end of her career being vice president. So she stayed there several years. I went to high school here in Dickson County at Dickson County High School. And when I left high school, I had an opportunity to go to college. Of course, I was young and knew everything, and so I decided that I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go and get a job and have some money. So I got a job over there at State Industries in Ashland City making water heaters, which I learned real quick was not the path that I wanted to do. But I did stay there 5 years with them, and then I finally left and went to Dickson County Board of Education. And so I took a job there in maintenance. Didn't know anything about maintenance at the time, but I learned very quickly. So, and I had some people to help me that had been there for years, and they taught me many things. And so I stayed with the Board of Education for about 20 years, had a long career there, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. So, decided after 20 years that maybe that was enough of that. I was getting a little older, and I wanted to do something different and maybe stay off the rooftops. And so cashed out my retirement and paid off some debt and opened Pappy's Pizza in White Bluff. And so we did that for a little while, and so then me and my business partner, we'd been in rental properties for a few years together. We decided that we'd build houses. So I went and got my contractor's license and turned over Pappy's to my two daughters, let them run that, and so we started building houses. And we're not huge by any means. We build just single family homes, and most of ours are we'll build 2 here, 3 there, 1 or 2 here and there. We don't really do big subdivisions. So, but we started getting into commercial real estate, and we bought the building that Pappy's is in, and then we ended up buying the little building next door to that. So, which used to be White Bluff Drugstore, and so they've closed down. So that building right now is empty. But we ended up buying. We went in with DMA Pharmacy and bought another building across the street, and so White Bluff Pharmacy, it will be coming soon, and so they're a great group of people, and they're going to open up in August. And so over the years, I've changed professions a few times, but right now we're in real estate, and of course I'm on White Bluff City Council, so I've been on there for about 2 years. So I'm dabbling in politics as well.
Talk to me a little bit about this nickname, because I've seen your signs. I told you before, I like the signs. It's got like a cartoon character, I guess, right on it, and that's, I think that's part of the whole moniker over at the pizza place.
It is.
Talk to me a little bit about how you got this nickname and how this kind of developed.
I got you. Well, I've got a granddaughter. Her name's Lana, and so Lana is where Pappy came from. That's the name she gave me. I don't know quite why, but she did. And so when we opened Pappy's, I thought, well, that just fits. That works well. And so we went with that, and and it stuck. And so a lot of people know me just by Pappy, and so that's why I put it on the signs, because a lot of people may not know me, by Bryan. They know Pappy. So, but yeah, that's she's the source. Interesting.
I've always wondered. I've been wanting to ask
the story.
You. Yeah. So that's a cool story, because I know kids are always. It's fun to be around them, and anything that originates from kids is always good in my book.
That's true. And I was going to tell you too. I listened to one of your podcasts. I think maybe with Cindy Gray, and y'all maybe were talking about the coin flip election.
Yeah,
well, that was me.
That was interesting, wasn't it?
Yes, it really was.
I love the newspaper article. For those that are listening and that don't know, I'm a teacher over at Dickson County High School, and so I'm always teaching, about government and elections, and that was just a really good example to the kids about how you get along. I thought so.
Right.
I took that article, laminated it, put it up on the wall, and kids would walk by and, what is this all about? And I'd tell them, this is how they decided to do what they did, and here's the reasons why. And everybody was like, well, that's pretty cool. Just a really good story. And I don't know if you want to tell maybe a little bit about
absolutely.
it. Because people might be wondering what we're talking about, who missed it.
I ran for White Bluff City Council about 2 years ago, and there was actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there was three of us that were in that election. And so when I went to bed that night, I was leading the pack. It was like 10 o'clock, and I was ahead, and the other two were, trailing by not a lot, but a little bit. And I thought, well, it'll be fine. I'd never run for anything before, so I went ahead and went to bed. I thought, well, I'll find out in the morning. So I get up in the morning, and Stephanie Merle, which is one of my I guess co-host, as you would, on my city council, she had actually won, and so she took the seat, and then the other seat was tied between me and another guy, Mr. Eric Mason. And so I thought, well, what's the odds of that? So we talked with the city there after the election was over, and they said, we've never had this happen before. So we brought in the city attorneys, and we were talking, and the cost of the runoff was going to be significant, several $1,000s for the city. Mm-hmm. And so me and Eric sat down together, and we both agreed we didn't want to do that. That's to us that was just a waste of money. And I said, what's our options? And so legal said, you can flip a coin. It's perfectly legal to do so, and they've done it in other states. If you guys both agree to it and will sign on to it to accept the results, then it'll be accepted. So me and Eric talked, and I said, yeah, let's do that. So we did, and I thought, I'll never win. I never win anything. So it's, but I did it anyway because I thought I'm not doing that to the city. And so lo and behold, here we are.
Well, when you think about it from the outside perspective, it's tough. You probably spend money. You spend a lot of your time. You put all this energy and effort into an election, and then it comes down to, a coin flip. That could be a little disappointing. I could see why somebody might not be upset with it, but may think, well, that's maybe not what I'm wanting to do, and go the other route.
Yeah.
But to me, with as much money as it was, I don't remember the dollar amount, but it was significant.
It was significant.
I want to say it was close to $20,000.
I think that's correct.
It was a lot. It
lot.
wasn't just a couple $100s.
No, sir. Mm-mm.
It was, that money that could be used for a lot of things for the city, and the fact that both of you guys, kind of put your, selves to the side and said, this is what we're going to do is probably best for the city, and I could end up losing this, and it
was nerve-wracking. It was.
The fact that both of y'all, though, came to that conclusion, I really respect it, and I had this chance to tell you that. But, and I, like I said, I use that as an example to the kids sometimes. This is a good way to do what's best overall. Maybe not what's best for you, but to kind of put I said, this is a public servant job.
Right.
And, you're supposed to do what's best for the city and not necessarily what's best for yourself. Here's a great example of that. So, I just think that's a cool story. So I'm glad you got a chance to kind of tell the listeners who don't know about it.
And Eric's, he's a great guy too. He's actually going to run this go around for city council, and so I wish him luck with that. I think he'll do well. But we've still stayed in touch, and we're actually licensed electricians as well. But so is Eric, and I use Eric a lot. I hire him out quite a bit, and so we've actually become friends after that. And he stays. He's very involved with Little League and stuff like that in our city. So he knows exactly what's going on, and he'll be a good one if he gets in there for sure. So and I told him, I said, this is something that nobody around here has ever done, and a lot of people was like, is that even legal? And of course, yeah, it's legal. It just doesn't happen very often. So we were both excited to be a part of that. I mean, it's history. So it's that was one thing we looked at, and we both agreed to accept the results for whatever they were. And so and I tease him sometimes. I'm like, I don't know if I got lucky or you got lucky because I'm the one having to deal with all the issues. So, but yeah, he's a good guy.
Before we move on and get into the more serious issues, I guess, at hand here, and kind of why you ran for office and things like that, I just want to talk to you real quick about the pizza business, because I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs on the radio show I do over at WDKN, and I love bringing them in, and love asking them, why did you decide to start this business, or why did you start that business, or whatnot. But pizza is something that everybody loves, especially kids, right? So just kind of take me through the process of wanting to start a business and deciding to do a pizza place, because I've been by to eat several times. I love it. It's good.
Well,
it's good pizza, and who doesn't like pizza, right?
Right, that's true. All right, so basically, I was trying to figure out something to do, and I really wanted to be self-employed. I was tired of working for someone else. I've been doing that for about 25 years, and I thought, what in the world can I do? So just by chance, my daughter actually worked for a little while for Snappy's Pizza, which was in White Bluff, and they've got several other locations as well. So Snappy's had closed down, and the building where Snappy's was available. And so I asked her, I said, do you think that you could run a pizza place if I financed it? And she said, yeah, I know what to do. I've been working for them for a while. And she said, I know how to make pizzas and I know how to run it. And I was like, all right, well, let's try. So we went and talked to the guy that owned the building, and we made a deal. And so here we went. And so basically, I bought all new equipment, which is very pricey, and the tables and everything, and got her a little startup money to get going. And she taught me what she knew, and so we started. And of course, our pizza is different from Snappy's. Every pizza is different in their own way, but we've learned. So over the years, when we first started, we bought all our cheese already shredded. So we did some research, and we decided that, the block cheese is a lot cheaper than the shredded because you're skipping that step. So we bought a cheese shredding machine and started getting it in blocks and shredding our own cheese. So that saved quite a bit of money. So then we used to order dough balls that were pre-made. And so we thought we could do better on our own, better quality, be fresher. So we bought a mixer, a big commercial mixer, and we started making our own dough. Well, that saved a ton of money because you're not paying for somebody else to do all that. So over time, we've really made progress in that. And then two, pizza, there's not a lot of waste because I pretty much make it as you order it. So I'm not making a whole huge meal, and then if nobody shows up that day, it's just trash. Pizza's just, your products, for the most part, we use everything before it goes bad. And so, I'm making them fresh as we go, and then, I'll reorder, we do it all over again. So there's just not a whole lot of waste factor, which was important to me because that made me somewhat nervous because at the time, White Bluff, I ain't going to say it was difficult. I mean, getting enough people to pay the bills. Now we're really, really busy, and thankfully to all our citizens for supporting us, and we do okay. But in the beginning, it was a struggle. So, that's true for a lot of small businesses, as I'm sure. But it's worth the fight, definitely.
Well, and White Bluff's growing, and so is Dickson County in general, right? And
true.
Kind of leads us into, I guess, what we're going to talk about next, which is about running for office, and that's one of the big issues, several issues. But let's just kind of shift gears and talk a little bit about what you're running for. First off, please explain what exactly the office is that you're running for. County Commission, right?
Correct.
But maybe explain sort of what part of the county that you would represent, and then maybe a little bit about what that job does.
Gotcha. Well, it's, of course, County Commission, District 12, and that's a good portion of White Bluff toward the Burns area down, White Bluff Road and Highway 47 and over into Burns quite a bit. And so, and I'll be honest, like when all this started, I debated on running for school board or running for County Commission. Because I really, one of my, and I'll fill you in on all this, but one of my goals is to help the teachers because I've talked to so many of them over the years being in maintenance. I know the struggles, and now it's so different now. They face so many more obstacles. I mean, it's not just teaching a child and trying to get that child to learn. You've got to worry about, or is your life, in somebody else's hands today if they decide to do something crazy. And so that's so much stress on top of already trying to get these kids where they need to be. So I thought, no, I'm going to go to commission because commission controls the money. That's the source. And so even though the school board would have been a good position to be in, I wanted to go to where the money starts, and that's with your commission. There, for school board, sheriff's department, any kind of county projects, anything that's county related is going to go through that commission. And so, that's kind of where I'm going to start with my goals. I want to see our teachers better paid. Not that they're underpaid, but I just feel like they deserve it. I feel like with the obstacles that they're facing today, not that the money's going to make them stay there if they want a different career, but it won't hurt. I mean, at least give them something to say, we appreciate you, being there and going through what you go through daily. And I like I say, in 20 years, you can imagine, and they open up to me because I'm the maintenance guy fixing the light or fixing the, whatever, the bookshelf, and they're telling me all their, here's this and here's that, and we would love to see this and that, but we can't get any help. And I'm like, okay, so after 20 years, maybe I can help. So there we are.
So you kind of mentioned it. The county commission does sort of control the money, but maybe explain just a little bit more about exactly, if you were lucky enough to get put in this position, kind of what you would do as far as day-to-day things. I mean, and it may even be a good opportunity to kind of explain maybe the difference between school board and county commission, because a lot of people do get that sort of mixed up.
Right. Well, and I've learned quite a bit on city council. Of course, we're a smaller version of what the county commission would be, but basically, we approve city budget, we approve pay raises, we approve rezonings, we approve subdivisions. I mean, you name it, anything you can pretty well do in the city, fire department, we're there. And so county's the same way. I mean, I think basically any of your daily activities that goes on in a county is going to become before the commission. I mean, anytime you want to spend money on anything, you're pretty well going to have to talk to them. And that's one reason, like with the school board, they get a budget together of the things that the schools need. And they come to county commission with that budget, and they ask for approval, and they ask for that money. And so, what I'm hoping I can do, because one as I tell everybody, one vote's not going to change anything. You've got to have several on the commission to make a difference. So, but my thing would be when they came, or if they come to me, if I'm lucky enough to get there, and they do have a school budget presented, then I would like to say, okay, I agree that you need these things. Let's look at some of the teacher pay. While we're discussing this budget, can we fit any more in there for these guys? And safety as well. I mean, we've done a huge amount the years I was there to try to combat some of the stuff that's been going on in the world. But I would really like to see more, and that's going to cost money. And I want everybody to understand, it's not going to be cheap. But if you look at the lives that you might would save, what's that worth? And so that would be another thing when they present the school budget. I'm going to try to push and get some money in there for more security, because I don't think you can ever do enough. I mean, it's just I was there for a long time, man, and it's a good target, and that's the sad part, and we need to make sure that it's not. So that's why I'm trying to get to commission, because I'm thinking, okay, maybe if I can get there, make a few, good points to get people to listen, and hopefully get the money, because I know it hurts. Tax dollars hurt, but it's something that's worth it,
Talk to me a little bit more about this decision to run for the county commission now. I mean, obviously you got involved in public service a few years ago when you decided to get involved with the city council there in White Bluff, and then as you already kind of mentioned, it sounded like you were wanting to maybe get involved in something else as well, and looked at school board, looked at county commission. But kind of take me through that decision of why the county commission. You kind of explained that, but maybe why right now, and maybe not in the future. Or
that's a good point. So one of the reasons, actually, it's kind of a fate, I guess, that it happened. But so Johnny Reed, which is our present county commissioner in the seat, he's a good friend of mine, and we know each other from the city of White Bluff. And he had come to me and told me that he was thinking about retiring from the commission. He said, I don't think I'm going to run again. And he said, if you've got any interest, he said, now would be the time, because I'm going to step out. And so I thought, well, now's the time, because, I would have never run against him, because I think he's a good commissioner, and I support the things he tries to do. And I don't want to muddy the waters with too many choices when you've already got somebody that you support. So then about that time, and I'm not sure if he went through this, but I heard that another friend of mine, Josh Lewis, was going to retire from the school board. And I thought, well, now what? Because there's two, because that was another thing. I didn't really want to run against Josh. And so I was just kind of waiting everything out. And so, but now, I made my decision, and of course, you never know. I mean, I like politics, and I like running for election. I enjoy it. I enjoy talking to people and meeting people, but you never know how it's going to end. I mean, it's, me or Cindy one's going to take that seat, and there's no doubt, but who, we don't know. And and I'll have to say, while I'm on that, I've talked to her a couple of times. We never met before this election, but I really do like her. I think she's a nice person, and I think she would agree with me. This is not something that it's not like we're enemies. We're running for the same seat because we both care about our county. So and I wish her all the luck in the world. And I'm gonna tell her the same thing. I don't know who's going to be lucky, the winner or the loser, because it's a lot of work, man. People don't realize, and I can tell you from experience, it's so easy to sit there on your computer and say, why don't you do this or why didn't you do that? When you're there, it's just a whole new world. Your money's limited. You've got, this group over here wants this group over there wants that. You can't make everybody happy. You're trying to do what's best for the city or your county. And sometimes it's just very, very difficult.
Well, and I like to hear that too, because here at the local level, I think we've done a really good job of remaining very civilized. You don't see a whole lot of bashing each other,
right,
or negative ads, or that kind of stuff. And I've heard several different candidates who are running against each other have sat down and had lunch or a cup of coffee together and talked it out and made phone calls to each other.
Right.
I've kind of heard about that behind the scenes, and it really kind of gives me hope because politics can get ugly. We all know that. But here at the local level, I do think we've done a pretty good job of remaining very civilized and classy and about the way that we do things and just treating each other with respect. Because at the end of the day, like you said, it's hard to run for these offices. It takes a lot, of time, effort, money, and other things. And I respect anybody who wants to do it, which is part of the reason why we started this podcast, was to give you guys a little opportunity here, because you're doing a lot and you're putting yourself out there, and I truly appreciate it. But kind of talking about you versus your opponent, and people are going to want to know things like,
right,
what are your qualifications? That kind of leads me to my next question. Tell me, what have you done in the past that maybe prepared you to be qualified for this particular office, but not just your background and maybe the things that you've done, but also kind of your personality, the characteristics of your character. What about you specifically and about your background would make you really good for this office?
Gotcha. Well, I told a story to Mr. Kenneth. I was on Power Lunch yesterday, and back when I was at State Stove, I was very young, and I had a family, and so there was days that I didn't have any money. I mean, it was just it was that tight. So you get paid and you pay the bills. There's nothing left, and so I remember at supper time a lot of times that I would go out to the food truck, and you could get the breakfast items for half price because they've been there all day, and our supper was at like 7 o'clock. So I would buy the breakfast items because I could afford that. And, in course, over the years, being in real estate and commercial real estate, there's been times that I've had more money and more ability to do things. And so I do see the difference, and I feel like I understand the struggle, because it's so much easier. I'm not going to say money will make you happy. It won't, but it makes your life easier, and I'm still not where I want to be. I mean, there's still times that I have to put stuff on credit card because I don't have the money to pay for it, which is not a good idea, but it happens. And so, it's that helped me tremendously. That was a good lesson. And then just being in real estate, and that's one of the big things that we're going to touch on, because, I want everybody to understand, okay, I do understand the people that don't want to see growth. I love the small town feel. I love, the larger tracts of land. But that said, at the same time, it's like I was telling Kenneth, I said, if you've got a man that's got, 10 acres or 12 acres or whatever it is, and he's owned that for 50 years and he's worked hard, he's been a teacher, a factory worker, or whatever he's done, and he wants to break that up and sell it in smaller tracts. I don't know that we've got the right to tell him, well, I'm sorry, you can't do that because I want to see your pasture. If you want to see the pasture, you should buy the pasture, and that's the way I feel about it. And a lot of people disagree with me, but a lot of people don't. And so, and I'm not saying we shouldn't have areas that are larger tracts, maybe 2.5 or 5 acres, if that's what everybody that's living in that area wants. But I don't know how you do that to somebody that's already been there for 20 years that doesn't want that attaches to your land, because they have rights as well. And, it's just very, very difficult. And a lot of people, I've got a friend of mine that is on council with me, and she votes no on a lot of the R3 rezonings. We're good friends, and I respect her because she's doing what she feels is best for her city. She's not caving to the pressure. And sometimes, a lot of the time, she votes alone. She votes no. But she votes her heart, and that's kind of what I want people to understand. The votes I make are what I feel is best for the city. They're my votes. You can look them up. They're on record, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm not going to vote for something and turn around and do it. You're going to know from day one how I feel. And so, and some of the growth does scare me. I'm not going to lie, because we're a small builder. If we build a couple of houses, it doesn't really change a whole lot of the landscape. If you build 50, it changes forever. And so, those decisions are very difficult. But as me and you had talked before, I do feel like, some of the growth in the city maybe should be denser so that we save some of the areas in the county, because they're going to come here and they're going to live somewhere. And a city is supposed to be dense. That's why it's a city. And so I don't feel, as concerned putting in a small subdivision in my city as I would out in the middle of nowhere. But at the same time, I argue with people all the time. I'm like, if you can only afford an acre and you want to live in the country, why is that not okay? Everybody would love to have 5 acres, but if you can't afford 5 acres and you work hard and you have a family, then, I don't really think you should say, well, I'm sorry, you can't have 5 acres, so you can't live here. That's just not the American way in my mind. And I'm, it's one of the other things I feel that would be a benefit for me, for council anyway, is that me and my mayor, Linda Hayes. So I'm mostly Republican. I lean Republican pretty hard, and she leans Democrat pretty hard, and that's fine. We talk, we get along, we have conversations, we solve problems. We, very rarely do we fight. Now, we disagree, but that's not a fight, and so that's what I'd like to see on commission. I want conversation. You don't want a commission that's mad at each other or upset with each other and voting against each other just because I don't like him, so. And I do have that ability. I can overlook it. I've had to in the past, and I can, because at the end of the day, even if I disagree with you, I can learn something from what you're going to tell me. And so I may not change my core idea, but I can learn, and you might change some of my opinion, which is a win. It's, maybe I change some of yours. So, but that. Yeah.
Well, that kind of leads me into my next question, because what would you sort of do differently than maybe the person who held the office before? Or not necessarily just the person who held this particular office before, but maybe what would you do differently than maybe the way that the county commission has been run in the past? And
Gotcha.
Because usually when people run, they're thinking, well, I would maybe do this a little different. So what would you say to that?
I can tell you from, Johnny's been on there about 2 years. And from what I've seen, I've pretty well agreed with him, for the most part with his voting record. And he seems to have a pretty good talent with getting along with people. Most everybody likes Johnny. And so, but I would say as a whole, and and I'm not picking on anybody, but I do think, because I know since I'm on city council, there's a lot of pressure. If you're looking at a vote, and I'll give you a good example. Okay, so, and I believe I'm correct in saying this. So there's a vote on the fuel depot. That they were in a bind with that. It's a difficult vote. It's legally they were just honestly between a rock and a hard place. And I do feel like that that everybody is somewhat pressured to vote the way that they know legally they have to. But at the same time, even if you have to vote yes, you can vote yes in protest. You can vote no in protest. And so, and that's what I would, that's what I would want as far as my tenure. If I get on there, I want it to be known, okay, I may have to vote for this because I don't have a choice, but I'm going to tell you right now, I don't agree with it. And it may be even down to the point, and I'll use Stephanie. She's a good example. She'll tell us, I don't agree with this. I don't like it, and I'm voting no. And so, and what that does, that puts on record that you are opposed to whatever this is. So instead of just voting yes because that's what everybody else is going to do, you stepped out there and made it known. And I think that's very important. That's the whole purpose you're there. You just really, and so one good thing about being self-employed, it's going to be hard to pressure me to do much of anything. I'm going to vote the way I feel that needs to go for the city or the county, and that's going to be my vote. And that's just, and I'll make a lot of friends doing that, and I'll make some enemies, but it's really about what's best for your city or county. You've got to vote that way to the best of your ability and what you believe. And if people aren't happy with those votes, like I say, they're on record, and on the next election, then I recommend anybody, run, get involved, get out there or find you a candidate that supports your ideas, back that person. I mean, that's what it's all about.
And you've mentioned a couple of the key issues, I think, that are really, I'd probably say number one and number two as far as, local issues that people are concerned about. The growth is a big one, and also the schools. And I know you've mentioned both of those things already, so we can maybe talk about those a little bit more, but there may be something else. But I think this would be a good point in the conversation to maybe just explain to people a little bit more about your platform and what issues are important to you in addition to the ones that we've already spoke about. Those are big ones. We can talk about that a little bit more, or maybe something else. But, talk to the people a little bit about, your platform and your political views.
I do believe those two are probably the top of my list, because growth you got to worry about. I mean, it's here, it's coming, it's going to continue to come. I mean, whether you're pro-growth or anti-growth, you better be concerned, because it's going to change things. And obviously the teachers, that's definitely at the top of my list. But one of the things, or two of the things that also is on my, I guess you'd say, my agenda, I'd like to see more money funded for law enforcement. And mainly with the two main items for me would be narcotics and child sex trafficking. I would really like to see, more money poured into those divisions, because, Drug Task Force, and I'm a big supporter of them. They're a great bunch, and they do what they can. But, they're really, really busy. There's a lot of drug activity in our county. And so, the smaller guys tend to get kind of swept under the rug and by default, and so I would like to see our local law enforcement have more funds and more, the ability to fight that a little bit harder. And then two, with the sex trafficking, that's just getting worse and worse and worse. And I think, even though we're a small community and maybe it's not as bad here as it is some of the bigger cities, I really would like to just, to put out a message that we're not going to accept that, and if you come here and you do that, we're going to find you and you're going to get prosecuted. And again, it's not going to be cheap. It's going to be expensive, and we're going to have to pay for it. But, if you look at what you're getting for the money, then, how much is too much? I mean, if it's your kid, then there's no dollar amount. And I know nobody, I love to say, I love our commercial buildings, because anytime I have to raise taxes or will have to raise taxes, I tell everybody, you pay my tax bill and I'll pay yours for the next 5 years. I mean, if I'm telling you, it's going to impact me more than a lot of people. And I'm good with that, as long as the money is going to things that we need. And that, and a lot of people, will tell you, well, I don't have any kids in school and I don't really want to pay for that. Okay, that's fine. I understand that. But you're basically, the teachers are basically mapping our future. I mean, that's the kid that's going to run the state, the city, possibly the presidency. Do you really want that kid to get less of an education than what he can or she can? It's because tomorrow they're going to be making the laws that affect you and your children and their children. So I just think, it takes a whole group of people to raise them. I mean, it's not, my kids are out of school. My granddaughter's still in school, and Lord help her teacher. But, I just feel like that's one place that I don't know that as long as the money's being spent wisely, I don't think there is a dollar amount that's too high.
I have to agree there. I remember an older gentleman, an old timer as I would call him, telling me one time, he said, I'm not real big on paying taxes. Nobody really wants to pay taxes, but he said, the taxes, the one set of taxes I don't mind paying are the ones at the school, because, you got to take care of your kids. You got to make sure they're educated. He said, I don't want to live in a community with a bunch of dumb people.
Right.
We got to have some education. So he said, those are the dollars that I don't mind spending the most, are the ones that go towards the education of our youth and the building blocks of our community, I guess you could say. So definitely have to agree with you on that. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about yet that you want the voters of Dickson County to know about? Because you've done a really good job of answering my questions so far. I appreciate you being so upfront, honest, open with us, and just talking here. But and you've hit on several different issues that I think are really definitely important. But is there anything else we haven't talked about yet?
The only thing I would is anybody that would like to reach out to me. If you want to know how I feel about a certain topic, or if you want to know, well, if this happens, how would you vote? I ask you to reach out to me, and my email address is B as in boy, Hill, Hill, 3341@gmail.com. Anybody can ask me anything, and I'm going to tell you the truth, because like I say, at the end of the day, I'm pretty well, I'm doing this because I love my city, I love my county. I'm not going to lie to you to get in there. I'm just not going to do it. I don't have to do that, and it's not, and as everybody knows, you're not going to make a fortune in public service. You're just not. You do it because you love your county or your city, or you don't. And so, I just really, if you're worried about something or if you disagree with something, as long as I'm, willing to listen, then I think you should reach out to me. I mean, that's your duty as a citizen is to ask those questions, or, and I'm not going to say we'll always agree. I mean, I've talked to several that, we'll probably never see eye to eye, but at the same time, we can have an hour conversation and they can at least tell me, look, I don't like what you're doing, or I do like what you're doing. The last thing that you want is somebody that complains and never does anything. I mean, because how are you making a difference if you're not going to do anything? I mean, you just got to try. I mean, I know you may get frustrated because you're like, well, you're not anti-growth, so you're not going to listen to me. That's not true. I will listen to you and I encourage you, because maybe you say something that I'm not, thought about. And so maybe you change my mind on certain things. Because I'm not always right. I tell everybody, I'm not. I don't even think I am. I don't even have the illusion that I might be. I know. We just do the best we can, and that's all you can really ask. So,
well, and I appreciate you saying that too, because that's sort of the goal of the podcast here is I know I don't have time and to ask every single question that a voter would want to know from you. But the idea is that I ask enough questions where they can kind of get an idea of who you are, and then they have a chance to ask you some further questions. And I know you also have a Facebook page, because I think that's how I was able to kind of connect with you. That's usually where I go first, by the way. People are wondering how I get the candidates. I usually try social media and then start asking around for phone numbers or whatnot. But I was able to connect with you through, I think, your Facebook page. So beyond the email address, what other ways could somebody get a hold of you?
Facebook will be fine. They can find me on there. I think it's under Bryan Pappy Hill for Dickson County Commission. You can get me, and actually too, if you come by Pappy's, I'm hardly ever there because we're so busy. But if you come by Pappy's and you leave a message with one of the girls or guys that are there and say, hey, can you have Pappy call me, or would he be willing to meet with me? Absolutely. That's this. I just as long as our conversations can be civil, I'll listen to you forever. I mean, it's, and like I say, we don't have to be, we don't have to see eye to eye. We don't have to be on the same political party. We don't have to, to be from the same state. It doesn't matter. I'd love to hear from you. So, and I know a lot of candidates say that. I hear that all the time, but I like to talk, as you can tell. So I don't really mind. I mean, especially if we go eat lunch, because I love to eat. So it's, but me and Cindy Gray are meeting next week. We're going to sit down and talk a little bit about the issues and just kind of see where each of us stand. And I look forward to that. So I think that'll be a good day. I like to learn and even if at the end of the day she wins and she takes the seat, then I've learned a whole lot just on the campaign trail that I can use in the city. I've got 2 more years in that term. And so, either way it goes, it's not wasted time. So
absolutely. Now we've got, some fun stuff happening this summer around the Dickson area. I think as we're recording the podcast right now, we're just a couple of days away from the Dickson Street Festival. So I'm not sure when somebody will listen to this, but we are a couple of days out from the Street Festival happening on Saturday, and so we're expecting like anywhere from 7,000 to 10,000 people to come down to downtown. There's going to be all these vendors, food trucks, bands playing on multiple stages. Just a lot of cool, fun stuff going on, and I know there's a lot of candidates that are setting up their tents and their booths out there. And I know next month in July, there was one that I'm really excited about because I live out in Burns. And so when they do the Burns Barbecue Bash, they did it last year and they're going to do it again this year. It's like a barbecue competition. That's going to be a lot of fun. There's some other events going on before or right around Election Day, I think, that are coming up. And I was just wondering if you were maybe planning on going to any of these, so maybe you could give people an idea if they want to come talk to you in person and maybe, meet you and shake your hand. Will you be at any of these events?
I will be for the Dickson one and also the Barbecue Bash. I'll be probably a customer. I'll be roaming around and eating foods and watching the bands. But I will have a name tag on, so if you see me walking around, just grab my arm and say, hey, I want to talk to you, and I'll be glad to. And then White Bluff, we're having our fireworks show. I believe it's July the 2nd at City Hall, and so I'll be there. Pappy's is setting up a small booth, and we're going to give away some glow-in-the-dark necklaces and stuff for the kids. And so I'll be there if anybody wants to come ask questions or talk or hang out or whatever. I'd be glad to have you. And of course, anytime that you feel that you need to talk to me, I'm available. I mean, it's one thing about being self-employed. I am busy. I'm very busy, but I do have the time to stop and meet with somebody or talk to somebody throughout my day. So I'm pretty well, most days, unless I'm off, under a house somewhere, I'm available. So and I welcome that.
So let's say that I run into you at the barbecue bash. This could very well happen. It probably will happen, right? We're probably going to see each other. Now, I've already got a chance to ask you all this, but if you run into somebody maybe you hadn't seen in a while or maybe doesn't really know you, and they say, hey, Pappy, you're running for office for county commission, and I'm wondering why I should vote for you. If you only had maybe 30 or 60 seconds, what I call an elevator pitch,
right?
They trained me how to do that in college. That was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've always kind of liked it, but if you had to concise it down to maybe 30 or 60 seconds, you only had a few minutes to talk to this fella, and you were going to try to convince him to vote for you, what would you tell him?
I would probably say, look, this is the thing. I've had a lot of life experiences in a lot of areas, and I've already been in public service, and so I got my feet wet. I kind of know what's going on. If you look at the Constitution, I follow that pretty closely. I stick with that pretty hard. And so if that's, and obviously, everybody's got to have a voice. And so, and I think that's what's most important in public office. You've got to give people the voice to listen to them. And so, and I think that's definitely me. I definitely will be that guy. So, and there's my pitch. So, it's, I feel like that I would be a good candidate. I really do. And I feel like I would do my best. And that's, and I'll say the same thing for Cindy. She really loves her county, and she would do her best as well. I mean, I'm not saying I'm better than her at all. I think either one of us is a fine choice. It just depends on what issues you see and how you see the world as far as who you want representing you. But I think both of us are good choices.
Well, and I appreciate you coming on the show. I thank you very much. I'm about out of questions here, so I guess we'll kind of start to close it out. But again, thank you for coming on and being willing to talk to the voters. That's one thing that I heard that the last election cycle was, I really just wish I could get to know these people just a little bit better. I wish there was some way that I could find out more about the candidates. And I just happened to start working for the radio station, doing a little collaboration with them on Saturday mornings, and I bought some equipment so that I could do some mobile interviews. So I thought this would just be kind of a fun thing to do, to give you guys a chance to kind of talk directly to the voters and kind of get to know you stage out of the way, and then hopefully they'll contact you and ask you some more questions. But kind of on the way out here, if there's anything else that we haven't talked about that you want to mention, take the opportunity now. But if not, just tell me a little bit about why you love Dickson County. And I always ask this question too. I always like to ask this question too, because I love the community, and that's really why I do a lot of the things that I do. I don't know if people realize this. I don't get paid a dime to do this podcast. This is just something I do for fun while I'm sitting up here at the real estate office waiting on people to call to buy or sell their homes.
Right.
I kind of hang out and invite people in to have conversations, but really at the end of the day, I just do it because I love my community, and I know that people that are running also feel the same way about the community. You guys love it, but just talk to me a little bit on the way out here about your feelings about Dickson County overall. Gotcha. Why you like to make this your home.
Well, I'll tell you, of course, I've always been here. That's the thing. My history, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, we've been here forever. And there's just so many things about Dickson County that I really love. And, the Montgomery Bell, that's awesome. Our school systems, they're really, really great, our schools. And it's just, for me, I guess, opening up my own business and in town and being able to hand that off to my daughters, it really makes me happy to see new businesses coming in. And I'm really a fan of small business. I really do like the small business model, and I'd like to see more of that. We need that. But I do love that, it's the crime rate, it's not, I don't have to worry a lot when my daughters go out at night. I know they're going to be fine. Things do happen, but it's not like it is in some of the bigger cities. And the people are really nice. Even the people who move here. I mean, that's, I used to not be a people fan, but as I've been in politics for a while, I really enjoy talking to a lot of people from different areas, different states. And I feel like we welcome them for the most part. And I do think that, Dickson County is a really unique county. You got a lot of things that you can do and see, and a lot of friendly people. And I just, for me, this is the only place I'll ever call home.
Well, I've really enjoyed like the revitalization of downtown Dickson here and all these new businesses being started. And I always say, I really appreciate business owners because, without business owners, you don't have businesses. And in order to be a business owner, it is a lot of risk. It's a gamble. People don't realize it. So I appreciate, all of the business owners here in downtown Dickson that have, stepped in and done their thing, but also out in White Bluff. Appreciate what you're doing out there. Like I said, if you don't have business owners who are willing to take a risk and open up a new pizza shop, we don't have anywhere to eat.
Right.
So from that perspective, I thank you very much. And as somebody who lives right outside of White Bluff, it's nice to have more options of food places in White Bluff. And so on that side of things, I just wanted to let you know I appreciate you and I appreciate all the guys who have started businesses locally and have given us a place to go here so we don't have to leave the county to enjoy certain things. It's really nice to be able to, venture into White Bluff and to see all these new little places that are coming up. And
Definitely.
I'm sure there will be more in the future. And I appreciate guys like you doing what you do. And also, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We've been going for about 45 minutes now. So that's usually the point where, people start to kind of trail off. So I guess we'll go ahead and close it out. I think you've pretty much answered everything that I've asked. And I hope you've had a chance to get all of your views out to everybody today.
Definitely. Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming in. Appreciate everybody for listening. I think this is number 13 we've done, or maybe 14. So done quite a few of these, but still willing to do more. I love doing it. I'm actually got 3 or 4 guys that I'm talking to right now about. Sometimes it's hard to work out the logistics of doing these interviews, but expect some more candidates to be on in the next few days. We're going to. I got one set up tomorrow, and also I think one set up Monday. So we'll be doing some more interviews for this particular podcast series. And if you'd like to be on the show, if you're listening to this and you're running for office and you're thinking, man, Justin, I'd like to be on the show. Why haven't you called me yet? Well, maybe it's because I've tried and I just can't find you. If you'll reach out to me somehow, or if you're listening and there's somebody that you want to come on the show, if you'll just reach out to them, just send me a message on Facebook and I'll be glad to pass out my phone number that way. Also, you can reach me at my email address, which is coachspurlock@gmail.com. So coach, COACH, and then my last name, SPURLOCK @gmail.com. Just shoot me an email and we'll get together and we'll figure out a time to do this. Again, I appreciate everybody listening and hope everybody